I call this meeting to order at Board of Supervisors, 7 p.m. at the Nelson County Courthouse. First item, we have public comments. We have some people who signed up on that. If you came to speak in reference to special use permit 516, I'll just call your name later. But if you came to just speak in the public comments for whatever other item of business other than the campgrounds, just indicate that. First, I will open public comments. We have Janet Bruh, 417 Trustlows Lane. Are you coming to speak for the campground? I'll save you for that. Brew, sorry. All right. Susan, you the same? All right. Joan Farrell? All right. Garrett Moore? Same. Yep. Paul Davis? Same. All right. David Collins? Campground, okay. Somebody who lives at 665 Tambark? Eric? Yeah, same. All right. Great. I'm just going to start with that list for the next thing. Anyone here wish to speak about anything else other than the campground today? It's exciting to have a crowd. We haven't had a crowd in at least a couple months, so having company is a great thing. So going once, twice, 3 times, sold. There is no public comments anymore. Moving forward into public hearings. Dylan, if you could begin the presentation. And for the record, we do have a couple of members who are unable to attend. Oh, Mr. Harvey made it. You got 2 minutes. Yeah, that's true. Depends on who's watching. All right, Dylan, you could begin the presentation.
This is a request for a special use permit for a campground use on property zoned A1 agriculture. It's located on the corner of Trustlows Lane and Berry Hill Road. It's in both the North and Central District. The property is just over 29 acres. Tax map number is 22-A-88. The applicants are Daniel Rickard of Livingston and Michael Patterson of Richmond. The property is currently owned by the Carsons. The property is currently vacant aside from an existing barn. The applicant is requesting a special use permit for a campground for 6 travel trailer type units that would be placed on the property by the applicants for the purpose of short-term rentals, which are less than 30 days. Short-term rentals and structures that are classified as dwellings per the statewide building code are classified and regulated as vacation houses, which are by right use in the zoning ordinance in the A1 district. Short-term rentals and non-permanent units such as travel trailers and RVs require the special use permit for a campground. The proposed units are travel trailers regulated by the DMV, and the applicants provided some inspiration photos that are in your packet. The area is residential and agricultural in nature. Zoning in the vicinity is A1. There are no floodplains on the property. The B1 zoning to the west of the property along Route 151 is the location of Tucking Antiques. And immediately north of the property across Trustlows Lane is Hilltop Berry Farm and Winery. The property is proposed to be accessed by a new entrance on Trustlows Lane. According to VDOT, the applicant will be required to have a commercial entrance designed by an engineer and approved. Well and septic permits are also required to be designed by an engineer and approved by the health department. According to the applicants, they've been working with an engineer and are proposing 3 drain fields, each of which will serve 2 of the travel trailers. For erosion and sediment control plan, according to this site plan, total land disturbance is expected to be about 0.67 acres. That requires approval of an erosion and sediment control plan. I'll also add that the drain field locations, any other additional land disturbance on the property is factored into that as well. And when land disturbance exceeds 1 acre is when they are required to submit a stormwater management plan to Department of Environmental Quality. The property is located in an area designated rural and farming in the comprehensive plan, which, quote, would promote agricultural uses and compatible open space uses, but discourage large-scale residential development and commercial development development that would conflict with agricultural uses. The rural farming district would permit small-scale industrial and service uses that complement agriculture. At the Planning Commission public hearing, there were several speakers with concerns regarding fire control, increased traffic, future expansion, proximity to neighbors, noise, events. Some other concerns were water access, feasibility of wells being dug on the property. There's a creek on the south of the property. So those were some of the concerns that were brought up. You also should have, I believe, 5 public comments that we received by email that have been distributed to you all. At the Planning Commission's meeting on January 26th, they recommended approval of the application 4-2 with a condition limiting the number of sites to 6 in accordance with a final site plan approved by all applicable agencies. That is all I have for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Bishop. Would the applicant like to say a few words? All right. State your name and address for record.
Daniel Rickard, 801 Thomas Nelson Ave. Good evening. As I just stated, my name is Daniel Rickard. I'm a police officer with Albemarle County, and I reside with my wife and 2 children right here in Livingston. We love the charm of Nelson County and love raising our children here and being part of this community. My partner and his wife have been coming to Nelson County for 20 years to hike and trail run the Priests and Three Ridges. Mike's wife still holds records for many ultramarathon races in the area and throughout the Commonwealth. Mike and I are not deep-pocketed developers. We're just 2 ordinary guys trying to make our dream work and bring something unique and beautiful to Nelson County. Our aim is simple. We wish to put 6 tiny homes for visitors on a 30-acre plot in Nelson County, just 6. We want to create an experience so unique to our county that it brings people from all over, not just the usual visitors from Charlottesville or Richmond. We want people visiting and experiencing the county that may have never visited otherwise. And we don't just want something unique to Nelson County or even the Commonwealth for that matter. We want to create something that is totally unique to the East Coast. We want to highlight the Nelson County appeal in a way that isn't currently being done. We acknowledge that not everyone will agree with us, which is why we try to find middle ground and keep our project to a very small and discerning slice of the 30-acre property. We can't keep Nelson County a secret if we want to attract families that aspire for the very lifestyle that we have to offer. And we do have a lot to offer. Our goal is to provide guests with an experience in Nelson County that is unique and would allow for a few certain things. First, we want to allow visitors to stay in the county on nights and weekends, not merely just day trips. You simply can't experience what our wonderful county has to offer in 4 or 5 hours. Second, we want to give visitors an experience that makes them want to come back again and again to support our local economy and not go somewhere else. Number 3, we want to showcase Nelson County as being a thought leader when it comes to modeling sustainable, eco-friendly accommodations that utilize a smaller footprint and lower energy consumption than the current industry standard. And to also model the appeal of a simpler, more modest existence in the scenic paradise that is our county, and not just for visitors, but also for our residents. First and foremost, though, I believe it's important that any project of this nature preserve the integrity of the surrounding landscape and conserve as much of the land as undisturbed as possible. As I mentioned, that's why we're only requesting 6 tiny homes on a parcel that is 30 acres in size. The lion's share of the property will be undeveloped and left to its natural habitat, as it should be. One topic of discussion we've heard from residents is one of appealing to visitors versus appealing to people who put down roots in the county permanently. I couldn't agree more that we need more young families like ours, but I believe there's a middle ground to be had. I don't believe it's an either or. I believe that people are much more likely to plant their roots in our county if they're able to visit our county. And by visit, I don't mean grabbing a beer or a glass of wine on the way through. It's not how you get the full Nelson County experience we have to offer if you live here. You can only experience that if you stay here. Meet the friendly locals, hike the trails, watch the beautiful sunsets. The more we can foster that Nelson County awareness, the more we'll convince people to come here and stay for good. Another topic that has come up is the need for more permanent housing that's affordable for middle-class working residents. This certainly hits very close to home, as I represent the very working class that's being priced out of the market here. And this is why I believe we can serve as a thought leader to this issue, as we're certainly not the only area dealing with this issue across the nation. I feel strongly that alternate housing solutions need to be considered when addressing reasonably priced real estate for county residents. Unfortunately, home builders are probably not going to be the long-term solution to this issue. They need to make a profit, which we certainly understand, and that mostly means 2,000 to 3,000 square foot homes that are out of the budget for most working class people in Nelson County. If single family homes are out of the budget, that really only leaves one option, and that's building them. That's apartment units that have to be several floors tall, that keep costs low by sharing walls and roofs, but sacrifice the landscape we're trying so hard to preserve. What we do think can be a potential solution is small pocket neighborhoods like tiny homes. With shared community, space, amenities, and utilities, they present a much more affordable option than subdivisions of stick-built homes. This is being done with much success on the West Coast, particularly in Oregon, Washington State, Colorado, and California. While a pocket neighborhood is not the specific intent of this project, we firmly believe that our experience and knowledge will aid us in developing solutions to the high cost issues facing working class folks in the county. A beautiful 30 by 8.5 foot tiny home can be built for around $70,000. That's roughly a mortgage payment of $150 a month, all while promoting a more sustainable lifestyle. We just feel like that's a win-win and should at least be a consideration when discussing the solutions to our housing crisis. Now, I want to be clear that tiny homes are not mobile homes. Mobile homes are cheaply built, depreciating assets that leave their owner with nothing of value after 10 years or so. Tiny homes, on the other hand, are built with the same materials as stick-built homes, and if maintained, retain the same beauty and longevity as stick-built homes. They hold their value and can increase the value just like stick-built homes, so the owner can establish equity in something of value and can be resold. Unlike mobile homes, the tiny home secondary market is alive and well, and mostly with listings with an asking price well over the original price paid. I'd also like to take a moment to address any concerns that our project may have an adverse impact on the immediate surrounding area. My wife is going to hand out to you a couple of pages of pictures of several of the properties that borders ours on Trestles Lane.
If you could just put it here and give some of the staff the record.
As you can see from these photos, many of the immediate surrounding properties have been left somewhat unattended over the years. That includes the property in discussion this evening. We firmly believe that our project will enrich the immediate surrounding area, certainly not make it less attractive. The Lynchburg News in Advance recently wrote an article about our project. We posted a link to the article on Nelson Knows Facebook page with more details, and the response was overwhelmingly positive from Nelson residents. Of the 101 reactions our post garnered, 97 of those reactions were positive. 67 thumbs up, 30 loves, and 4 frowny faces. 97 of 101 reactions were positive. 97. When people fully understand what we're trying to do and how we're trying to help, we received a very positive reception. Frankly, the only adverse response we received to our project was several weeks ago when somebody created a post on nextdoor.com with the claim that our intent was to put 60 tiny homes on the property. Unfortunately, that claim was online for a day before we had to choose off the truthful, clarifying details. Lastly, I'd like to outline several things that we are 100% committed to. First is privacy for neighbors. Our guests want neighbors to be undetectable just as much as the neighbors want our guests to be undetectable for them. We will be utilizing the service of a landscape architect firm to provide the utmost privacy for both our guests as well as the surrounding neighbors. None of our homes will be visible from neighbors' homes on Trestles Lane. The 75-foot setback, of course, will certainly aid in this desire for privacy as well. Quiet hours will be at 10 p.m. sharp. This will be expressly stated in all communications with guests and prominently featured on the premises. There will be a zero tolerance policy for guests that do not abide by this rule. As a local law enforcement officer, I have the experience and character to make certain these rules are enforced. As you can see from the attached photos, our tiny homes and the space will be discerning and tasteful. It would be unwise for us to invest money into this project to merely offer guests a second-rate experience. These are not trailer homes. They are not mobile homes. These will be elegant, luxurious spaces to complement the beautiful scenery that envelops them. I'm grateful for your time this evening, and I welcome any of your questions or comments.
Moving to the public hearing, we'll ask questions of staff. Yeah. Sounds good. Staff, are you ready for a public hearing? All right, so I have a couple names on here that are duplicates, Susan and Joan. So but what we're going to do, since people filled out the public comments, we're going to go through that one and then continue over here for those who both want to speak in the especially for 516. So, housekeeping rules. Please, when you come up, you get your name called. Say your name and where you're from for the record. Remember this, that as it relates to individuals, all persons willing to speak individually must keep their comments to 3 minutes or less. Okay? If you are with a group, okay, a group, an actual group, not just two people, that doesn't count as a group, but like an organization or something, you get 5 minutes. If you represent that group, so just because there's 3 of you in the group doesn't mean each one of you is going to get 5 minutes. Now, this is Nelson County. We're very nice folks, all right? So let's try to keep the hemming and hawing aside, the rebuttaling from the crowd, hand clapping. There's a whole plethora of things. I have appointed Mr. Reed as Sergeant at Arms. Congratulations. He is also going to let the chair, myself, know when we are getting to that 3-minute or 5-minute mark. I'll try to give you some kind of 30-second warning. If I feel like you guys need a few more seconds to finish your thought, it is at my discretion that you get 30 more seconds. It would be nice if we could all get home before midnight. That is our goal and ambition. There are plenty of questions. This board is going to ask questions of the applicant and of staff following your comments, and we will continue the evening. So, hopefully, am I missing anything, Mr. Sergeant at Arms? Excellent. I'm looking forward to hearing some great comments, and hearing from some folks, and hearing some concerns, and hearing some positive things. All right. Well, thank you guys. Moving forward, I open the public hearing. We're going to do our first name, which is Janet at 417 Trustlows Lane. Yeah, right there to that microphone. Lower that microphone head if you need to. We can hear you. We'll tell you. Perfect.
My name is Janet Brew, and I live on Trustlows Lane, 417.
Is it on? Push that little push button right there. Is there a green light?
It's green.
Okay, it's on then.
Right. Is that better?
I think so. Look at it, Dylan. I don't know. Yeah, it could be off. We've had issues with it. Sorry. And with technical difficulty. There we go.
It's Janet Brew, Trustlows Lane, 417 Trustlows Lane. A couple of things that I made notes about before I heard this presentation is that B&Bs are generally, kind of a definition of B&B is someone's home. The owner manager usually lives there and sometimes has separate accommodation, but often doesn't. Hotels are hotels, and it's unlikely you'll ever meet the owner. So in my hearing about this and looking at the project, it looked to me like it's no different than a motel, and I don't really want a motel on my street. People can rent it and go home. And there's nobody here to manage it or take care of it unless they have someone there. And the other thing I'm very concerned about is the water situation. people in my area have a very difficult time getting wells there. I had to have 3 put in before I found water, and then it was just enough to get by. I know people have had more than that, and it's a real challenge. So if you have 6 homes or 6 places there, each, or how many wells they might need, I don't know, but it could be a draw on the rest of the water in the area. And the traffic situation is another thing. It's bad enough with all the wineries up and down 151. We're gonna have to put a traffic light. I have a hard time now as it is. So, so when I was down here, you know, I think it was only the place that was quiet. I didn't count on having, like I said, a motel down the street. That's my comment.
Thank you so much. All right, Susan, 599 Truslows.
Thank you. So my first comment is why this location? I also moved here because it's a beautiful county, and as he mentioned, I find our neighborhood to be very friendly. There's plenty of other places why in our neighborhood. As you said, it's zoned agriculture. We have a neighborhood that has people walking their dogs all the time, and it's a lovely place to be. But this is a commercial property. A commercial property does not belong in a neighborhood. Agriculture, yes. The winery that was mentioned is an agriculture, and the owners live there. It's a different situation. And why right by the road? There's 30 acres. Why can't it be down lower so that it's a lot less visible to us and for them? My second concern is traffic. The 2 roads that come in to our area are windy. They're narrow. We often have to slow down or even pull off to the side to let somebody by. How is this extra traffic going to be for us? And my third point is that these are not homes. On Facebook, the people who were for it were for tiny homes. They were for affordable housing, and so am I. I love tiny homes. I watch HGTV. I see how cute they are. But this is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about homes. These are tiny houses that are short-term rentals. And it's not going to help our affordable housing problem. And closing, I would like to say, what is our guarantee that there will be no future expansion? If they are successful, are they going to want to put more in? If they already have a commercial property variance, are they going to be able to come back to the board and ask for other things? What guarantee do we have if we say, yes, build your tiny homes on this property, that we're not going to have more commercial capabilities there? Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. All right, Joan at 350 Truslows. Is that Farrell?
Farrell.
Yeah.
Hi, I live at 350 Truslows Lane, which is like 2 houses down from where they want to build these homes. I walk that road all the time with my dog, and I've also walked the property with my dog, and I'm not supposed to. And my thing is that, well, they say they want to do this because we need this, and there's not enough temporary homes. Well, I looked it up on Airbnb, and just for Nellis and Afton area, there were 76 places in this back little area, 76 Airbnbs, including there are some tiny homes up up from Devil's Back Room, up that road. There's I think 6 tiny homes on this one property. It has more acreage though. and it's not like where you can see it from the road, which is nicer. They do have area below, which maybe they could put tiny homes on, and they wouldn't be seen. Where he wants to put them, where they want to put them is like on top of the hill, right off of Tuslows, where they can be seen, and he said, well, be hidden with trees, but the trees are not very high that are there now. They're like a little bit taller than me. And I was also wondering how tall these homes will be, because most of the ones I've seen, they have lofts above where they sleep, and so they're small this way, but they're taller. So I don't know how tall the ones they're gonna do, but it seems like that's what they usually are. Also, are they gonna be tied down or have some kind of foundation? We get a lot of rain sometimes, especially with storms, and they're up on the hill, and I understand they're gonna keep the wheels on, so that might be a problem too. If we have a big storm and they're not tied down, I don't know if they plan on tying them down or not. And they said that this will have people come to the area. What we need more in this area are the permanent homes for younger people that can't afford these $300,000, $500,000 homes. And are they eventually planning on using these homes for permanent homes? Are they going to change and do that? Because that's more like what we need in this area, although I don't know how many people will want to live for how long in a tiny home. It gets kind of a little bit too much, especially if you expand your family.
30 seconds, ma'am.
Oh, okay, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Garrett Moore. 311 Fred Bar. State your name and address. Hi there. Garrett Moore, 311 Freshwater Cove. Although I'm not necessarily in this Dallas area, I've listened to the comments of others, and although valid and reasonable, when me and my family moved here 20 plus years ago, I wish that something like this had been here as an option for us. I think it's a great idea after listening to Daniel and Mike and what they plan to do with it. I think it's a fantastic idea and something that could greatly benefit Nelson County. Thank you, sir. Moving on, Paul Davis.
Paul Davis, 2514 Rockfish Valley Highway. I think you all have already addressed about the water and well, what the county's going to be looking at, and the right of way, VDOT, and things like that. So I won't really go on that. My biggest concern has already been echoed here also. Some of the, I've also been employed in government and law enforcement for 30 years. But also is my mistrust of government, where if you get approval of 6.
Well, you came to the right place.
I did. So if you get the approval of 6, my concern is always if you get a feeding board. Myself personally, 6 doesn't bother me. That's going to be the limit. And then on those 6, what would be the size restrictions? Because if I got 6 in, I may want to add 2 or 3 together and join them together. So those 6, so there could be tiny homes in the beginning, but later on those 6 still could be kind of larger homes. And then the other concern that I've got, and I know you were speaking on your behalf of getting the project here, and you spoke a lot about the affordable housing, and I was listening, and to me it sounded like you were selling that to the board on the idea of affordable housing. People can't afford housing in the area, but you kept referring to your own project as tiny homes, and all the people, not as tenants, but as guests. So that kind of, to me, was conflicting when you were saying, you're trying to sell it to the board about affordable housing, but you yourself were referring to everyone as guests, not tenants. And if it's going to be affordable housing, what kind of price range is it? That opens a whole lot of that. That's not what I've heard, I believe. And then as far as Facebook, I don't personally do Facebook. My wife will tell me, though, I can paint a dresser, and she puts a picture on in there, and I get 100 likes and loves. I have no idea. I'm told I get this. In my experience, any kind of polls you see online, and as you get people, you start really getting to the nuts and bolts of the people who are actually liking or commenting online. Very, very few even live in the area. They're from all over the country, and so I don't put a lot of weight in anything like that. Those are the big areas that I have. Is the 6, when will a decision be made by the county? That's another question of mine. And like I said, the biggest concern is because everyone, myself included, we're on well water. And so that would be a big concern. But personally, the 6 alone, if they're tiny homes, and even if they are for guests, I don't probably see a big issue myself with that. One of the issues I have, though, is the way that they are. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Quick housekeeping, any questions and comments, this is the after step, but when you address, please address the board. We don't allow for any rebuttaling amongst the crowd and whatnot. I think we can have a pretty chaotic situation happen very quickly. So just for those going on. All right, Mr. David Collins, 1188 Berry Hill. Let's see.
David Collins, I live at 1188 Berry Hill Road. Our road, Lane, is off of Berry Hill Road. The traffic is an issue to me. Look at a unit and how many cars that might bring. Well, if it's like typical residential, you count 10 trips per day per unit typically. My guess is they'd easily do that because they're going out to eat and they're going somewhere else for the evening and then going to, wherever, visiting the town. We already have a lot of traffic on Berry Hill Road. I realize we're talking about Truslow Lane, but you've got to get there from somewhere. And so you're talking about bringing in maybe 60 new vehicle trips on a road that there are many places that you do have to, somebody else mentioned that, have to slow down, have to pull over to the edge to be able to let 2 cars pass. The traffic in general, Route 151, obviously, is cranked up a lot in the last 5-10 years. So is Berry Hill Road. And that's how people will be getting there. From Route 29, they'll come Berry Hill Road. From 151, they'll come, I can't think of the road name, to turn Berry Hill Road, down to Virginia Lane, I guess. Somebody mentioned wells. Some of my neighbors over on Truslow Lane have mentioned they had to drill 2 or 3 wells to be able to get adequate water. I'm several hills past that, but I had to have 2 wells drilled for the same reason. We have good water now, but still, it's you don't know what you're drilling into, basically. They mentioned 6,900, 7/10 of an acre. They don't show the septic field, so there's area that's going to be disturbed. They don't mention. Once you get to an acre, and that doesn't include any kind of storm drainage. That's at the top of the hill. The creek at the bottom of the hill comes around. That's my boundary. So I'm not sure about the workings of this plan. And anyway, my complaint is that it's a residential area.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. All right. Eric Drum.
Hello, Eric Drum, 665 Bar Drive. Wanted to speak on behalf of support of it, honestly, because I do think it's a unique overall idea. It's not unique to the nation. I think in general, you look around, there's a lot of other counties that are doing this in Nashville. It really brings in, I think to the point, it brings in a to be able to explore the area, to bring in more tax revenue. I mean, we're talking 6 small homes, so in general, it's gonna, I would think, bring in more couples, to maybe couples with small kids. But these aren't large homes, and overall, I would assume that the price point is going to be lower than some of these other homes that are available now for short-term rentals. Short-term rentals right now are hard. When I have friends that are visiting the area, it is hard for them to get anywhere, any places that are available right now. So they're usually forced to go downtown, Charlottesville area. And, like we spoke about it, Nelson County is a beautiful spot. It'd be great for more and more people to enjoy it, to pay more and more tax dollars to build up schools, the roads. But at the end of the day, there are 6 small homes, and I think it's going to add 6 vehicles. So the traffic, I know is an issue around the area, but I don't think this is going to drive the traffic, to comparable records there. I do think that the benefits far outweigh some of the overall concerns there.
Thank you, sir. Right. What we have now is the public hearing sheet. Those are those who are on the public comments. Now we're going to the public hearing sheet. Some people like to out there. Susan, you've already spoken. Kathy Christensen, 221.
Kathy Christensen, 221 Truslows Lane. I live directly across from this proposed project. And I keep hearing that it's going to be hidden. I live higher, and you put a 6-foot fence, I'm going to look right over it. So it's not going to be hidden unless these are moved a little bit further down the hill. I bought the property, you move them a bit further down the hill, you still have gorgeous views if this is going to go in. Short-term rentals are party venues, and the inhabitants have no vested interest in Nelson other than having fun. The target population are those who will frequent Alcohol Alley, participate in hiking, biking, and wintergreen skiing. And again, I don't oppose tiny houses, rather I oppose the location and the fact that they're rentals. These rentals are not they're not where people are going to come and live. And the folks who give a thumbs up, there's a lot of people that like that small footprint, but that's not this is a commercial venture in a residential neighborhood. Rentals are plentiful in Nelson County. Looked up on the Airbnb website, and they have a 40% occupancy at the height of skiing season. That means 60% are available. There's not a problem in finding rentals. And that's only the ones who actually registered on the Airbnb. There's also bed and breakfasts that are being hurt by the Airbnbs, and lots of other rentals that are not listed on this website. The special use permit does not have VDOT approval, nor Department of Health approval. I think that should happen. My property, I drilled 5 wells, yielding 1.5 gallons a minute, and it's 3. Several other properties adjacent to me get less than 3. A third lot gets none. Had to go to another lot to try to get water for that particular. My concern is the aquifers may dry up to the existing property owners, and then it's my expense to drill another well. Regulation done well can protect everyone, including the economy of the county. Development done poorly, while it can bring in revenue, can negatively impact other aspects of the economy or quality of life for the existing residents. If Nelson County continues to allow developers to scatter the county with unplanned, poorly thought out developments, we will lose the rural nature of Nelson. The reason people come to live or to visit is due to the rural charm. If Nelson builds all the amenities that the larger counties and cities offer, then it will not be a sought-out destination. I am asking you to deny the special use permit, and if you are to approve it, the following conditions must be placed and enforced. Increase setback from the road at least 100 feet or more. No more than 6 tiny houses, period. And that the stays cannot be longer than 30 days. Protect the dark night sky. No lighting other than porch lights. Barriers such as fencing, trees, landscaping that does not allow bamboo. Have a host site present on the property. Limitations of how many renters can occupy each of the tiny houses on wheels. Limit the number of vehicles present at each unit. Enforce noise control after 10 p.m. And limitation to outdoor use of the remaining 28 acres to hiking and biking. I don't know, if you want to jog, that's fine.
Wrap up your comments.
No ATV or off-road motorcycle use on the property. Tiny houses really are a fad, and I'm wondering what's going to happen 15 years from there. They depreciate just as vehicles
Thank you,
do.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Right, forward. Joan Farrell, you win already. Ms. Mueller at 349 Truslows. I might be saying your name wrong. Muhler?
That was my wife. I'll speak for a minute.
Okay. Did I say that wrong? Mueller?
Mueller. German. We live at 349 Truslow Lane. My name is John Mueller. We are definitely opposed to this. I call it a mobile farm. The way I look at it, if it quacks, it's probably a duck. It's on wheels. Whether they call it a tiny house or not, it's a mobile park. It's up for rental, and all they're going to be doing is renting these things out. And whether you're going to be able to enforce it the way people would like it to be enforced, I'm not sure that will work. Secondly, let me get to another point. Truslow's a pretty straight road. We have a lot of traffic on Truslow, both heavy trucks, pickup trucks, and cars. A lot of them move at least 60 to 70. We've had cars going 90 miles an hour down that road. They also hit that hill, and you cannot see over that hill leading to Berryville. You can't see over the hill, or if you're coming up, you can't see over the crest of that hill. That is going to be a major problem unless there are speed limits enforced on Truslow. The other points that were made, and they're absolutely right, Tuckahoe, as well as Virginia Avenue, are narrow, windy roads. And people that are coming in that are not familiar with those roads will have a problem. Those are the two main points I'd like to make. There's one thing I will say, when I call a tiny home, it's usually on one piece of property and somebody lives in it full time, though they live in a tiny home. I don't think this is set up to be considered tiny homes. I consider it to be a mobile park, places for rental, and I just don't think that it'll serve Nelson County well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Was your wife speaking, or is it Seth?
No.
No, okay. All right. Bill Hudson.
My name is Bill Hudson. I live 222 Bottom Lane, which is the road that intersects with Trussell's Lane directly across from where this development is. I could echo everything that's been said, every concern. I might emphasize the traffic safety issue, and Jack touched on it. I often have had to drive off the road because people that are unfamiliar with those narrow, twisty roads entering into the area drive in the center of the road. And if you happen to be the one on Virginia Lane, you're in big trouble because there's a big embankment that will go down. But the one thing that I want to add, rather than just repeating everything that's been said before as far as suggestions, is I heard the objectives of the developers. And to me, each and every one of those objectives can be achieved by simply moving the project to an area that's zoned for business already, somewhere on the Route 151 corridor, not in the residential agricultural area. So that's what I would propose.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Frank, Bishop, 350 Trestles. Trustee Shane.
Frank Bishop, 350 Trustlows.
Thank you, sir.
I learned something tonight. You're never too old to learn. I was trying to figure out really what this permit's about. And the young lady read campground. Heard everything about campground. If that's a campground, I call it a mobile home park. It's a commercial entity that does not belong in a rural agricultural area. If you look at the papers, you each have pictures of these tiny homes, which are very cute, very functional, and so on. You look at those pictures, they do not conform in any way or shape, and any of the houses, any of our properties down Trustlow Lane. The end result, if this is passed, our properties that we love, cherish, we like the quiet, we like the views, will be valued. There's no doubt about it. Because who's going to buy near a trailer park? It's not going to happen. If others had stated this other issue, the road going in and out, either way, toward the winery, that's so too narrow. It's dangerous. You cannot pass normally two cars. There's no guardrails. On the weekend, when the winery's open, and we buy wine there, yes, you take your life in your hands with people coming in and out that have no idea what the road is like. And I always say, tell my wife when you get home, do you have the chrome on the side of the car yet? Or my truck, do I have a straight? It's that close, and it's that dangerous. That should be taken into account for different traffic that we have now even, extra traffic. We really need that. We have a blind hill that a gentleman spoke about toward almost, I think, where the entrance to this park is going to be. You can't see over it, you can't see either way. How long will it take for a major accident there? Or somebody walking on the road and get run over? It's just not the place
30 seconds.
to have this. Thank you.
All right, I have a Charles from 241.
Charles Edwards, 241 Trustlows Lane. I am a property owner that is adjacent to the proposed tiny house campground. And much of what you're going to hear from me tonight, you've already heard. This is for us to kind of bring opposition to this development stems from a number of different areas. This project is a commercial undertaking. It's being considered for development in a designated agricultural zone that is surrounded by residential properties. This fact alone should cause the board to pause. Consider the ramifications to the residents of this area. Our primary concern surrounds the water tables and aquifers in this area. You've heard many people speak to that. Most homeowners have wells that are yielding 3 to less than 3 gallons per minute. Some have had to drill additional wells. The property directly adjoining this project is 260 Treslows Lane. They lost their well over a year ago, and to my knowledge, still have no water. The property has now been vacant for well over a year. Renters of these tiny houses will have little concern over their use of water while occupying these rentals. Septic systems will have to be designed for 6 households. And again, renters will have little concern to what they flush into the systems. And the residents will bear the brunt of the failed systems. Currently, there's no posted speed limit on Treslows Lane, despite 30-mile-an-hour posted limits on incoming roads. With this addition to the area, there must be a posted speed limit of 30 or less for the safety of residents who daily walk their dogs along this road. Deer, bear, other wildlife frequent this area. So there is a need for stringent trash controls that need to be considered. I favorably view progress in Nelson County and appreciate growth, especially as it pertains to tourism. But I must ask the board to consider at what expense.
30 seconds.
As the board deliberates on this project, please consider the impact on residents in terms of noise, traffic, trash, privacy, property values, light pollution, water concerns, and appearance within our residential community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we got time. On Emma Jackson, 605 Treslows.
Hello, my name is Emma Jackson. I live at 605 Treslows Lane. I'm here to speak on behalf of my family. We have grown up, or I grew up in Nelson for the majority of my life. My parents both grew up in Richmond, went to public schools, rode on city buses, and they moved to Nelson because, like everybody, you want the small town feel, you want to live in the country, and you want the peace and quiet, good neighbors, no traffic, and no Walmart close by. A couple of concerns that my family has in general is the traffic, littering, drinking, loud noise. There were instances with teenagers that were about my age when we went to school, and they used to invite their friends over and go drinking down by the river, and they would litter, and they didn't care about noise, and when you called, no offense to the cops, but there's not much they can do. You can't prove it unless you have security cameras and stuff like that, which nowadays is more likely. In particular, I know on Facebook there was a Peace Tree Camp project that went around for a mother that was mourning her loss of her son who was in high school at Nelson. There were plenty of mourning parents and families that wanted to have yurts and tents here in Nelson County. I don't know the mother personally. I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that that project had to cease and is not complete. So I understand the reason for these people wanting to bring this feeling to Nelson County, but I don't like the proposed area or the location. As you've heard many of our neighbors, family and friends speak already, it's not a good place for the driveway at all. It is overlooking a hill. I grew up riding my bike to Lodabar, back and forth with my nieces and my brother, walking our dog, and back then there weren't even as many houses that are on Treslows now. And I now have a young daughter who will soon be doing the same exact things I did growing up, and it is becoming more unsafe. There are people driving very quickly, and now with 151 having more alcoholic areas or breweries, wineries, whatever, they are driving more reckless or they are under the influence, and there have been a lot more accidents. So I just ask that when you are considering this, I do feel like many of the other people have already spoken. The location, if it has to be in our area, why can't the houses be moved down the hill, the driveway in a different spot?
Seconds.
So, thank you.
a Rebecca Sell?
So,
Gotcha. Yes, ma'am.
boy, I sure come in prepared for all they said.
You say your name again.
It's Rebecca Sell.
Okay.
Oh, you see how it works?
It does.
This property that they want to put in, the driveway happens to be on the blind hill. We can't even get up and down it with ice and snow on it, when there is no driveway there. It is a very blind hill. You're coming out the road, you look up, you can see the and the ski area, you can see everything out there. It's a beautiful place for a home. This is going to be an unsupervised campground. We don't need it. It's 20-some acres. It can very easily front Berry Hill on the other side, down where the scruff is. And it's a very beautiful place on the top, but it is still very dangerous. The roads are narrow. I lived on the road that was dirt, and it still should be dirt, and we can be having this conversation. But it won't bring anything to anybody. What is it going to benefit the neighbors? And what are the pros and cons for it? It just doesn't seem to be there at all. There's nothing in it to benefit the neighbors. It's going to be an unsupervised campground. There's nothing over there for anyone to do except go to the winery. There's nothing else. There's no venues of any kind on that hill. It would just be a campground. I'm done.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Derek, you spoke already. Tom? You can hold off, I'm not gonna comment. Okay. All right, so Tom's not talking. Do we have anybody else here who wishes to speak? We've done really good on time, 1 hour. That's great. Anyone here wish to speak that isn't on my list? All right, not hearing any at this time. I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit 516. All right, moving on. Staff, board, applicant, do we have any questions for staff or the applicant at this time?
I've got a question. It's pretty clear that we're talking about two things that really aren't part of reality. One is a campground, and one is a tiny home. What's being asked is not a campground, nor are the structures really tiny homes. So can you explain why there's a real lack of clarity in the zoning that doesn't really address what?
Sure. So we treat tiny homes right now, excuse me, like we do any other dwelling. Anything that's going to be classified as a dwelling through the statewide building code is classified as that, a dwelling. It can be rented out as a short-term rental. Now, our definition for campground is any place used for transient camping where compensation is expected in order to stay in a tent, travel trailer, or motorhome, and require provision of potable water and sanitary facilities. Our definition of travel trailer is a vehicular portable structure built on a chassis designed as a temporary dwelling for travel, recreational, and vacation uses. Does not include mobile homes or manufactured homes. So we've obviously been getting a lot of inquiries about tiny homes or this type of use lately. So we have two options: a dwelling for the statewide building code, or a manufactured home regulated by HUD, or a travel trailer on wheels. It's regulated by the DMV. It'll never be classified as a dwelling. So based on our definition, where compensation is expected to stay in a travel trailer for transient lodging, this would fall under that definition, is what the proposal is. Does that answer your question?
why these homes or whatever they are, why do they have wheels?
They're DMV regulated.
What?
DMV.
Yeah, you did.
DMV regulation, tiny homes.
They're just a popular,
So the reason they have wheels is had nothing to do with what they are. It has to do with what they fall under in terms of being regulated.
classified, yes.
So the only reason they have wheels is so they can pass zoning or get approved? Is that the only reason they have wheels?
Let me put it this way. If they are not on wheels and are going to be classified as permanent dwellings, this would be a by right site plan that only went to the planning commission. Because these are on wheels, it requires a special use permit and a public hearing.
And it would have to have a solid foundation.
Correct.
And there would-
These are proposed to sit on concrete pads.
Yeah.
So this commercial venture is on wheels because that's the cheapest way they can build a structure?
I can't speak to the cost analysis of these. I know tiny homes, RVs, mobile homes, that's a big part of the industry right now, that people are utilizing as housing. We do not permit it to be used as housing in the county right now. It's a big part of the industry right now, in the tourism industry, where people are traveling around.
The other thing I was wondering about is, you don't own this property.
If the applicant could come forward.
I can answer your prior question to also why they're on wheels. I mean,
that's good.
I'm sorry, Mike Patterson from Virginia. There's two reasons why they're on wheels. One is because they move around. Typically people move around. Just like an RV, so they go from campground to campground. It just so happens that ours are not going to move around. The other reason that they have wheels, and the people designing them, they're considered non-permanent structures. So they're not, they don't have to abide by building codes, meaning, you know, you can have a loft bed 8 feet high. So what it allows to do is it allows for like an RV, it allows for a much more functional use of compact space, because you can have in a home you build, you can't have a loft that's 8 feet high, right? There's so many things. If you build, these are going to be 30 feet by 8.5, so 250 square feet. If you had a stick-built 250 foot square house, stick-built, I mean, it would be completely non-functional. It'd be like 2 rooms. But because they're built with because they follow RV standards, there's a lot of stuff you can do to make it this small space more functional. If that makes sense. Well, you can say
What doesn't make sense to me is something, you're saying you want to put these buildings there and you want to rent them out, and you put them on wheels. This has nothing to do with what you guys, that just seems kind of strange to me. Well, my other question, you don't own this land.
We do not.
Why did you pick this particular place to do this project?
Yeah, it was notified by us of the Carsons. So the Carsons are moving. They want to sell this land. Why this piece of land? Because it's been neglected for 30 years. Much like so many of the properties that are bordering it. So I hear most of the objections I've heard tonight have been speculation about what we're not going to do, how we're not going to keep our promises, how it's going to be late, it's going to be parties, all things like that, right? So this land is
well, you would understand why they would be concerned that you would keep your promises.
100%. But then saying that we're not going to do what that's your main objection, is that we're not going to do what we said we're going to do.
I'm trying to figure out. I mean, what these people are saying about being in a residential area is clear. You know, and they feel this is their home.
Sure.
And you're involved in business and you want to make money. Right? Well, yeah, I mean, that's totally legit. I mean, I'm not, you know, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But the objections to people who live there are real.
Yeah.
Did you talk to these people before you came up with your plan?
I mean, it's a little bit of, you know, cart before the egg, because if we don't, you know, if we were not to get the permit, you know, it's like kind of like buying the land, right? You buy the land and you can't get the permit.
Oh, you gotta get the permit before you're gonna buy the land.
Correct. So we have it under contract, but obviously we don't want to buy it, and then, you know, you're rejected for the permit.
So you're not tied to this, not like your land. You could buy land somewhere else and do the same thing.
We could. The three things that we're looking for are proximity, you know, to the hiking and attractions and creeks. We're looking for views. And then the third thing is we want to offer a unique experience of the tiny homes, the combinations. Now, all these things I'm hearing, like objections about the well and septics and traffic. It's my understanding that this piece of land by right, we could build with much greater density, more units, or somebody come along and build 12, 15 houses here. So that to me is, so when I hear well is a problem, traffic's a problem, you know, we remain committed to 6 non-permanent structures. Mr. Reed has been up to the property. Below the barn, there's no development opportunity on the lower 20 acres. So this fear that this post that was on nextdoor.com misleading people saying we were going to put 60 tiny houses on this property.
But if you had talked to the people who live in the area and they had suggested that you put these tiny, whatever they are, down a different portion of the property, would you have been amenable to that?
It's where we're placing them, where we are placing them right now, we don't actually have to disturb any portion. We don't have to get down trees. We don't have to do a lot of landscaping to make it accessible. And currently, from where we're proposing each one of these, if you go out there and you were to stand at each one of these locations, none of the current residents that are here, their homes would be visible from any of those locations. The only home that would be visible would be a single wide trailer, which you all have a picture of there. That would be the only one currently visible. Even in wintertime, with all the leaves off the trees and everything, none of the homes currently, with no landscaping done, are currently visible. Certainly, they're visible from the road, and we understand people on their way home and everything like that, they want something pretty to look at. They want to be able to see the mountains, and that's something that we're committed to maintaining. And I think it's important to point out, as my partner pointed out, as far as the wells go, you know, this could be multiple times more than what we're doing, and that a home is going to have a dishwasher, it's going to have a washer and dryer. These will have
But are you concerned about the water? Were you aware of the problems of water there?
We've been made aware of that. And we do have a 30-acre piece of property here, and these have a lower. The point was that these have a lower water consumption than a typical home would have, and so we actually require significantly less water per unit than a typical home would, just due to the fact that they are tiny. And because of that also, you know, to the point of traffic, you know, they're small. It's not like you can put, you know, 3 families in one, you know, it's going to be a couple, like my wife and I are going to go stay in it, you know, it's going to be like 1 car per one. And again, you could split this property up and build multiple houses, which are going to be which is going to add much more traffic than just what we're trying to do. And I'd like to also point out, if I may, right here, where, if it's okay if I walk, right here where the entrance is, you know, they're talking about that blind hill, and they are correct. But this right here, the site distance is at the top of the hill. And per VDOT standards, I believe it's a 300, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's a 300-foot at least minimum site distance that you have to have, which you have over that at the top of this hill. You actually have, it's a straight road visibility on both sides, because the entrance is being placed at the top of the hill. And VDOT requires that, since we're being required for a commercial, a roadway, VDOT does require that we have that site distance. They won't approve as long, if you don't have a site distance, I believe it's 300 feet, they won't approve that, and our surveyor went out there, and it's at the top of the hill, where you have plenty of site distance coming, and the only way people can turn into it, is a right-hand turn, and so the hill will actually not be a factor at all as far as traffic goes due to the placement of that, and that is something that we consider.
All right, other questions from the board for the applicant or our staff? You guys can see.
I'm curious whether there are people who would be come in favor of this if there was some sort of negotiation in terms of making more tenable what they wanted to do.
As part of this director board, so make sure you address the board, not the crowd.
Yeah, I was, yeah, thank you. Maybe they need some time.
I understand that. One quick comment that I have, and it's as it relates to subdivision rights, and I was just going to ask Dylan if she could either acknowledge or explain the current rule. So it's 29.13 acres. It's agriculture zoned. So he currently has how many division rights roughly?
Seven.
So he has about 7 division rights. And those would be like, isn't it 4 2-acre lots, and then 5, and then something larger than that? Or they all can be?
They could all be 2 acre.
Gotcha. And I think one thing that's always is we address, water issues and water tables is those division rights would be allowed already. The question is do we want it to be campground? It's the prerogative. I just think it's important that we just keep that in mind. That there are division rights. So if they wish to do a permanent dwelling, 7 permanent dwellings, that right already exists. So just keep that in mind at this time. Other questions? Comments?
Yeah, that's fine. My earlier question to Ms. Bishop is kind of where I'm basing my comments, and that is that we're currently operating under zoning ordinances that are over 10 years old. And the fact that our ordinance is old, it doesn't give us the confidence that a proposal that comes before us tonight is a good proposal or not, because it's something that really wasn't considered 10 years ago. We're starting a new comprehensive plan process, which will lead us up to new zoning. I'm bringing this up because this is in addition to the way things are now. A significant piece of the comprehensive plan has to do with the public, and the public are supposed to drive that process by providing input as to what's appropriate in the county and where and under what conditions. Unfortunately, my experience on the planning commission and doing this for a while, I highlighted those areas where our current zoning is broken in some ways. Certainly not advantageous to leading us towards making decisions today that were put in place over 10 years ago. So this is in my district, and it's pretty clear to me that by the thoughtful comments from everybody tonight, that if the people that came to speak today were to drive a new comprehensive plan and subsequent zoning, this probably would not be allowed. So that it doesn't directly apply to what's being asked for today, but it's something that I, have to consider in terms of making a decision on this, because this being in my county, these are the people that I really want to be part of that comprehensive plan that will be, giving us the direction of where we want to be in 10 or 20 years from where we are now. And we want to prevent something like this from happening. So, for that reason, and because of much of the comments that I've heard tonight, I'm not going to be in favor of approving this.
Mr. Harvey? Okay. This time, though I think we can probably give the applicants some opportunity to interact with the public a little bit longer, and of course, knowing that there are 7 subdivision rights already. That would be my suggestion. I agree with Mr. Barton. Maybe there could be a community-driven conversation. I'm also chair, so I can't make motions. So it's up to the board at this time if they wish to approve, deny, or continue. Okay. Well, let's defer this to the next regular board of supervisors or day. Can you look at the date? March 8th. Okay.
That would give us the advantage of having Mr. Parr
Yes,
present and being able to be part of the discussion.
Mr. Parr sends his regrets and unable to be here, but so we have a motion to defer this to the next board of supervisors, which is March the 8th. Do we have a second? Oh, did we close public? Yeah, we did close public.
I would second.
Okay, we have a second from Mr. Reed. Further discussion of staff.
I would just ask if there are any elements or requirements that you would like to see by the next meeting. If you're requesting any additional information or anything to be done by the time we get to the next meeting, I can take those down and we'll make sure we.
I would say status of VDOT Health Department, where they might be at with contingencies. I'm sure they're not going for the full permit as of yet, but where they may be at that point.
It's clear the concerns that the people have. Normally, those are part of the boxes that get checked off after the special permit has been approved. But given the situation, it's not beyond the pale to have some of that information ahead of time. So that I think that would be.
So you're encouraging as it comes available.
Yeah, like I don't know if you're in the process of trying to find out about what the water scenario is like, but maybe that would certainly allay some of the problems or highlight a significant problem. You know what it is.
For the water course is not really.
Until you drill a well.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's a known fact. And I've been reading things, some of them have 5 wells, some of them 3, some of them have a gallon of water a minute.
I think that's what I'm alluding to is typically those things are required as a condition. If that is something that you want to require before you make your decision, then you just have to let us know.
You don't want to make them drill 5 wells to find out there's no water.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
They can't get water.
They can't get water, they can't build the house.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that would be the same thing if and even if they couldn't get water, they would have to prove to the state a plan of action of water reservoir. But you just don't know. You know, be one side of the road and have 2 gallons and the other side have 30. Just depends on how deep you want that. So, do you want more guidance?
Status.
Just general status as things go, and as Mr. Reed had pointed out, as you get it, you can make it pretty to the point. Is that fair? have a second with those underlying comments? Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Spivey?
Mr. Harden?
Yes.
Mr. Barton? Mr. Rutherford?
Yes. This continues the discussion. Now, for the crowd to know, the public hearing is done. So if you wish to speak on this again, there will be public comments. So you know how you fill that sheet at the beginning, that had there's 2 sections. FYI, there will be no public hearing related to this specifically. If you want to speak, you can come to the afternoon session or evening session, give your opinions that way. Feel free to send your emails. We've got a lot of them. Regular letters, definitely. I prefer emails. Bip likes letters. And phone calls. So thank you all for coming tonight and being civil. I have to say, this is probably the first crowd we've had since 2021, 2019. Wouldn't you say? I'd say. So it's nice to see people. All right, moving on, other business as presented. We have to continue this meeting to February 16th. Mr. Barton and Mr. Reed and I mentioned 9 a.m. It is nothing more than to vote related to items related to redistricting deadlines that we have to vote on. So continuing this meeting to February 16th at 9 a.m. at the old Board of Supervisor room. Am I correct?
That is correct.
All right, can we get a motion to continue this meeting to them?
So moved.
We're going to finish this motion, then we will. Motion to continue the meeting.
We're setting up a working meeting next Wednesday.
What?
To me, you need to over me on just make it better.
Meeting is over. It's because we're in the month of February. And we have to set.
Amanda, do you want to explain the
there
purpose of the working meeting next week? Can you explain that to us?
So next week, we have to meet this timeline for our redistricting ordinance that was passed on the 31st. We just need to meet again to have you all authorize and direct us to publish the final covered practice. That's just so we meet our timeline so that we can send everything to the state for the redistricting that's been done.
Decisions are being made. It's a formality.
It's a
Formality.
So all we have to do is continue this meeting to February 16th.
Yeah.
You do that. Got that motion, do we have support? Yes. Seconded, right? Amanda?
Mr. Harden?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes. Closed. Thank y'all.